Hey, Chad, this is Mark Myers with Chad Cohen. Chad is our speaker tonight. Chad is the chairman of the Dallas Young Republicans Club, the chairman of the state Young Republicans, was president of the SMU Young Republicans when he was back at SMU. And Chad, it's been great to have you here tonight. We really enjoyed your speech. Any thoughts post-speech?
Oh, well, thank you, sir. First off, I appreciate you having me. This is a great group, incredibly energetic, incredibly committed. So I found tonight pretty inspiring, right? And I was really encouraged by different age brackets responding to different sets of issues. So I found the audience to be very receptive to hearing about what are the challenges facing millennials and Gen Z, and I think that kind of intergenerational dialogue is a lot of fun and really exciting. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thanks. For you that were not here tonight, we've got this on video with Chad Cohen. Gave a great speech this evening, so make sure you look at it online. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
Water. Anything else? So I'd like to call this meeting February 15th to order. I'd like to first first welcome you all to the meeting of the Collin County Republican Men's Club. First, we'd like to do to salute the appropriate things: our country, our state, and our God. I'd like to start out with the flag salute. Mark, would you lead us in saluting the American flag? Right here.
Y'all stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And for the Texas salute, Delar Pike.
Join me in saluting the flag of the great state of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And finally, Richard, would you lead us in an invocation, please? Richard
Please
Dodson.
remain standing. And this vacuum thing's not working?
This is...
Where's John Myers? Just because you're ex-president doesn't mean you can't get this thing to work. That's all right, I will speak up.
Very quiet.
Forgive me, I've been running up and down Central today, and I'm running under a lot of stress. Our gracious Heavenly Father, I come before Thee in Christ's name, Your victorious Son, our Lord and Savior. Dear Jesus, hear my prayer. Jesus, may we be included in Your flock. Be our shepherd, Lord, and direct our path. Be our guardian, Lord, and protect us from harm. Be our pastor, Lord, and teach us Your way. For Thine is the kingdom that we seek. Thy authority is what we wish to obey, and Thy glory is what we celebrate each day. Amen.
Amen.
As you all know, by now,
We heard you great.
I spoke up. CCRMC is where men and women, we love women, join together. I'm trying to get these hand gestures. Join together, learn together, and work together. Like we're fighting. For the Republican Party, by promoting our goals and principles, we are most known for our monthly meeting keynote speakers, Texas-based and non-Texas-based political figures, global diplomats, distinguished scholars, and other thought leaders. On immigration, terrorism, foreign country competitors like China, and other timely subjects. Tonight is no different, and we have a great speaker on a very timely subject, and that's the subject of party expansion. But first, some club and political business. First, I'd just like to recognize if we have any guests, any new members. Charles Sorvello, VP of Membership.
So we have a lot of guests tonight. If you're a guest this evening and you wrote your name on the guest list, can you just raise your hand for us, please? I'd like to welcome you and thank you. Please don't forget we got renewals, so if y'all need to renew, come see me or you can pay online. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles. That was my next talking point. While we're thinking of membership, a reminder, we hope you find our meetings and activities worthwhile, so worthwhile that you'll continue to support CCRMC with your membership. If you have any questions, I know Charles, he's exceedingly bright as our VP of membership, and he'll be able to explain it all to you. Exceedingly bright. I underline that. So regarding our political calendar, no doubt you've been approached for block walking, campaign support. We hope you're supporting our Republican primary candidates. They're running very hard for March 5th in the primary, and we'll hear from some of them later this evening in our parade of politicians. First, I wanted to introduce Jennifer Groisman. She is the Resolutions Chair for Texas Federation of Republican Women, Senate District 8 Resolutions Vice Chair and past President of Plano Republican Women. She's just giving us some quick information on the upcoming precinct conventions.
Okay, thank you. I'll use my teacher voice here. Well, he did my introduction, so that takes that out of the way. Who here has been to a precinct convention in the past? Okay, perfect. Who here has submitted resolutions to our SD8 resolution, or actually any of your resolutions committees at your precinct conventions? Okay, great. Now, I want you to forget about everything you've ever done in the past with that, because we are doing something new. We are going to go digital. Now, everybody over the age of 50, please don't panic. Okay? Take a deep breath. It'll be okay. I will be holding 2 in-person trainings, and I have all the information here for you guys to take with you. And I am working on a 3rd for Zoom for those who can't make it, those 2 days. I need some help from John over there, though. So some things that we're going to go over is, of course, the digital format. We're going to go over the form, how to write a resolution so that it'll pass. I'll give you a little secret right now. Read the 2022 Texas GOP platform, okay? Because odds are your resolution is probably already in there. Because we don't rewrite the platform every single year and start from scratch. We take the old platform and we either add to it, change it, or subtract from it. Also, I will be going over the convention process, some of the conventions that we will be having throughout the season before the general election, and that'll just be a little short, little brief summary of those things. And the trainings are Saturday, February 17th at 10 a.m. right here at headquarters. And the second one, if you can't make that day, will be Saturday, March 2nd at 2 p.m. My card is on the flyer, so you can RSVP to me via email. If you don't email, you can text me or call me, whichever you prefer. And bring your smartphone or your computer or your favorite digital device of your choice. And I would just like to thank Chris Bingham and the tech committee for helping me create the form. While I wrote the form, I actually needed help getting it onto the internet, so that we all could use it. So thanks to them, it has been a possibility, and it'll make our job on the committee so much easier. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
We just start a stack or two, passing around here if you'd like.
All right.
And whatever's left, maybe
I
put on
don't know
the.
if I have a.
Give me some of them, lady.
All right.
I'll help you out,
Okay, thank you.
All
I
right.
don't know if I have enough for everybody.
Take a
Sorry.
couple.
I remember scratching out a resolution, like in the first, I remember I didn't raise my hand, but I remember scratching out some kind of a resolution. I don't think I did a very good job, so I think I could probably use that training. Thank you very
You
much,
got it?
Jennifer. Next, I want to bring John Myers, our GOP chair,
You should
up
know that
for
by
an
memory.
update on Lincoln Day dinner and other festivities.
You know, resolutions.
Thank you,
John.
Eric. And first, Jennifer, thank you for you coming around. Jennifer's been going to a lot of the different clubs all across Collin County, and we appreciate that, Jennifer, for your work. I've worked with Jennifer for many, many years. She's been a very faithful, long-time activist in the Collin County Republican Party, so thank you for, Jennifer, all you do there. A couple of quick things. If you are looking for tickets for Lincoln Day dinner, which that is coming up this Saturday evening, guess what? It's sold out. And we've been talking about that for weeks now, about making sure you get your ticket. We are oversold, actually, for Lincoln Day dinner. We are approaching the numbers of nearly 900 people coming to South Fork Ranch. And as you guys probably know, United States Senator Ted Cruz is our keynote speaker. And, you know, Ted Cruz could have chosen to be virtually anywhere in the state. He had offers from dozens of counties. You know, this is the time of the year, right before the primary, and this is the time when parties are out raising their funds and all. But Ted Cruz, you know, we felt like we were pretty persuasive, but Ted Cruz chose Collin County because he understands the significance and the importance of what Collin County brings, the number of Republican votes. So how many of you all, show me a list of hands of how many of you all going to Lincoln Day on Saturday night? Awesome, man, that's awesome. I know you two ladies right here will be there. Well, I'm not sure, how many have you been attended?
Everyone since, gosh,
Probably.
I think I've been precinct chair 47 years.
47
Wow.
years? Wow. That's, thank you for your service. So I just want to emphasize it's a grand thing. By the way, one of our title sponsors, one of our lead sponsors, we actually have the wife of one of those here in the house, Tracy Self. Thank you for all you do, and for Keith Self. And also, we have one of our other title sponsors is here today, Michael Slaughter. Thank you for all that you're doing for the party. So, there's a lot of things happening. We have a fantastic live auction. We have a huge silent auction. We have a live band. A lot of things are happening at South Fork Ranch. And if you upgraded your ticket to a VIP, then you will have the opportunity to actually be one-on-one with Senator Ted Cruz. You'll have a complimentary picture taken with Senator Cruz. No extra charge for that. So anyway, a lot of great things are happening. And you know, the last thing I want to tell you is that we have a primary election. Primary election is coming up on the 5th of March. That is a Tuesday. And people ask, they say, John, you know, boy, I see all these candidates in Collin County, just, you know, we've got more candidates running in the primary. I mean, isn't that kind of a problem, seeing all these candidates run in the primary? And let me tell you my answer to that. The answer is absolutely no. It's not a problem. In fact, it shows the vibrancy of our party, where people are willing to step up. They're willing to get in the arena. They're willing and want to be the standard bearers of our party. And that is a great thing. Not only that, but every single candidate has pockets of supporters, right? That they all have people, they bring people into the party, and they bring new voters to the party. So you are going to see a record turnout of Republican voters in this primary election. You mark my words, it'll be a record turnout. We are then going to take that record turnout of voters in the primary. We're all going to unite to, you know, people say, well, John, who's going to win? Well, if I knew that, I wouldn't be here in front of you guys. I'd be, you know, having dinner with Elon Musk most likely. So I don't have a crystal ball, but I will tell you that there are going to be winners in every race. But we are then going to all unite. We're going to bring those people all together and bring them to the finish line in November. And I will tell you right now that even though maybe your candidate that you were really pushing the primary may or may not win, if they don't win and somebody else wins, whoever that Republican is that does win is far better
than any Democrat, progressive, woke person that they put up, and that's why we're going to support the Republicans in November. So folks, we will look forward to seeing you Saturday night. I look forward to seeing you all in November to a huge victory party. Thank
John,
you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
When the difference does early voting start?
Excellent question. February 20th.
To March.
So that is how many days from now? 8 days, is that right?
Next week.
So, 5 days.
When is it?
So, February 20th is the first day of early voting, goes all the way through. And then, of course, Election Day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 5th. And there may be, in some races, we don't know, there could be a runoff. But in most cases, usually there's not a runoff. And if there is a runoff, that will take place afterwards. Normally it's 8 to 10 weeks following the original date. And then we'll have all that behind us. And then we'll go into November and have a huge victory party in November. Good question, Richard. Thank you. Thank you.
So we come to the point of the meeting when I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker. Actually, I'd like the VP of Programming, Mark Myers, to come up and introduce tonight's speaker.
So you get the rare benefit of hearing two Myers brothers back to back. Hold on one second. Sorry. Hello, this is Mark Myers. Wow. How are you doing, sir? We're doing great here, ladies and gentlemen. I have a live phone call right now coming in from United States Congressman Keith Self. Keith, I'm going to put you on my speaker. Was there anyone you wanted to speak to in particular? Yes, sir. I do have Chad. Chad, if you'll come up here, Congressman Keith Self would like to speak with you. Keith, I now have you on the speaker, so speak up loud because it's just coming out of my cell phone.
Hi there, Mr. Congressman.
Chad, how are you? This is Congressman Keith Self. I want to welcome you to the men's club.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I've never gotten a welcome quite like this one.
Let me tell you, I don't want to put any pressure on you at all, but everyone there is expecting you to give them a very informative and, more importantly, entertaining speech tonight.
We might have a problem on our hands, sir.
The young Republicans are growing this next generation of conservative leaders that will stand on their principles when they get into office. That's what you need to be telling them.
Those are good notes, sir.
Consider this your initiation into the men's club, although I can tell you the hazing won't be too bad.
I'm both scared and excited.
Okay, will you say hi to everybody in CA3? Everybody have a great time, and I'll be back this weekend into Texas.
Thank you. Okay, well, now that we've got no pressure, Chad.
None.
So, Chad Cohen is the founder and president of Lone Wolf Oil Company, LLC, an oil and gas company engaged in the acquisition of mineral and royalty interests in the Permian Basin. Before founding Lone Wolf in 2014, he worked for 2 years as a landman at a privately held exploration and production company based in Dallas. Outside of business, Chad has served as president of Dallas Young Republicans since 2019. Dallas Young Republicans has grown into the largest, most active Young Republicans chapter in the state of Texas, and one of the largest Young Republican chapters in the entire country. With over 1,000 dues-paying members, the Dallas Young Republicans is a dynamic, rapidly growing group of young people committed to effecting real conservative change in the community. Chad also serves as chairman of Young Republicans of Texas, the official youth auxiliary of the Republican Party of Texas. He received his BBA in finance with a specialization in alternative asset management from the Cox School of Business at SMU. Got that in common?
That's right. Pony up.
Where he graduated magna cum laude and was a Hunt Scholar. While at SMU, he served as president of the SMU College Republicans for 3 years. A lifelong native of Dallas, he is a graduate of Trinity Christian Academy in Addison and will be speaking tonight with regard to his mentoring and growing the Dallas Young Republicans, as well as helping us learn how we can bring youth into the Republican Party of the state of Texas and across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, Chad Cohen.
Certainly never received an introduction or a welcome like that, so Mr. Myers, thank you. My name is Chad Cohen. I'm the president of Dallas County Young Republicans. I'm also the chairman of Young Republicans of Texas. I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to participate in this event tonight. This is really exciting to be a part of this. And there's really a couple of things I was hoping to accomplish. I wanted to start off and sort of place the younger generations entering the political arena in a larger historical context. I think that'd be useful for all of us to understand the experiences we've been through and how they've shaped our outlook. And I'd move more specifically toward the end of my remarks towards how can these different generations, all of these people in this room, young and old alike, how can we work together for a common goal? So I'll start tonight by saying we want to talk about and try to understand the new generations that have entered the political arena. While Gen X and baby boomers still hold most elected positions, Gen Z and millennials are beginning to have a real impact on American politics. I think that in order to understand my generation, the millennials, we have to answer 3 questions. 1, who are millennials? What events shaped us? 2, what issues are most important to us? And 3, what do we want? What do we want America to be? We millennials are a generation all too acquainted with times of crisis and historic upheaval. For those of us born between 1981 and 1996, we're a generation that came of age during 9/11 and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In our formative years, sitting in our classrooms in school, we experienced 9/11. We learned that attacks on American soil can happen, that even the Twin Towers were susceptible to evil from across the world. The illusion of American invincibility was shattered, just as we were beginning to observe the world around us. As children, we learned that America is vulnerable and that evil is real. The war in Iraq left our generation deeply skeptical of American military intervention abroad and the wisdom of the leadership at the highest levels of the military. As teenagers, we listened as the U.S. government struggled to explain to the American public exactly why we were in Iraq and what victory in Iraq looked like. We learned that the wise men running our military are not infallible. That skepticism has never left us. As the U.S. continues to send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, and U.S. military leadership issues increasingly dire warnings about the necessity of Ukrainian victory, our generation remembers the lessons of Iraq. Millennials will not accept war without rationale or war without end. We entered college and the workforce just in time to experience the great financial crisis. The institutions on Wall Street, the big banks and global investment firms, were supposed to be the engines that would propel Main Street to better wages and better lives. The great financial crisis shattered that illusion for us. We learned that profits are privatized and losses are socialized for the largest institutions on Wall Street. The same lesson that we learned in American military intervention abroad held true in American finance. Large institutions and the individuals running them were playing a game of heads, we win, tails, you lose. Our generation remembers the lessons of the great financial crisis. We're skeptical of an economy that creates enormous wealth for those connected to institutional power while leaving entrepreneurs, working people, and young people vulnerable. We're skeptical of free trade policy and open borders immigration policy that destroy jobs and wages. We're skeptical that profits on Wall Street translate to prosperity on Main Street. Now, we reached adulthood at the onset of a global pandemic. Having begun to build careers and families, we experienced government authoritarianism and the despotic nature of the experts. The experts assured us that surrendering our lives and our freedoms to their proclamations would save us. We witnessed a raw display of government power in our lives that shattered the illusion that freedom in America is secure. We learned that our freedom is vulnerable to attack from our own elected officials, and just as importantly, from unelected bureaucrats.
True.
Now, lastly,
Correct.
we grappled with and continue to grapple with the thief that is inflation. Inflation robs us of our wages. It steals the value of our earnings. While inflation represents capital gains for the few, it represents a punitive tax for the many. Our generation, still early in our careers, saving to buy homes and build families, has been robbed by inflation. Inflation created by endless money printing by the Federal Reserve and ever-increasing spending by the federal government. Inflation is not inevitable. It is the result of irresponsible monetary policy and runaway fiscal policy. As the price of everything from gasoline to groceries, cars to household items have continued to skyrocket, our generation has learned the hard lesson that failed government policy can steal money right out of our wallets. Now, that's who we are and what we've learned. So what issues are important to us? What are we for? We're for a strong border and immigration system that prioritizes the prosperity and safety of American citizens above citizens of foreign nations. We're for tax and trade policies that prioritize entrepreneurs and working people above big business and billionaires. We're for monetary policy that prioritizes sound money and stable currency for savers above bailouts for Wall Street. We're for foreign policy that prioritizes the security and well-being of Americans at home above international crusades and quagmires. We're for a domestic energy supply chain based on the utilization of abundant, secure oil and gas that prioritizes affordable, reliable energy above the green energy fantasies of climate alarmists. We're for dramatically smaller government bureaucracy that prioritizes responsiveness to the needs of the people above the unrelenting expansion of its own power. We know what we're for. I'll end this part by thinking about what our generation wants America to be, what we want our leaders to be. There are times of war and times of peace. For our generation, it's a time of war. Not a war on foreign soil, but a war right here. It's a war for American identity. I end on this note because I think this is the fundamental question facing our generation. Who do you believe in? Do you believe in the new gods of climate alarmism, racial identity, gender identity, or sexual identity? Do you believe in the God of science and its ministers, the experts? Do you believe in the God of social justice? Because make no mistake about it, the atheism of prior generations has been replaced by religious fervor. Our generation, for the first time in many generations, lives in a time of faith. We will place our faith in some God. Much like in biblical times, there are many, many gods to choose from. It's my hope that our generation will place its faith in Jesus Christ, and that we will submit to and obey his commands. You see, the war for American identity is not about good faith disagreement between reasonable people over marginal tax rates and budget deficits. That's not the fight our generation inherited. It's a war about belief. Our generation is fighting about who we place our faith in and who we serve. Now, this fight is about good and evil. Now, people tend to get uncomfortable when things are framed in terms of good and evil, but when you consider the mutilation of our children's bodies and minds, the poisoning of relationships between neighbors over radical ideologies, the eradication of the nuclear family, there is no other word for it.
Yes.
Our country has been hijacked by cultural terrorists. For the 9/11 generation, we know exactly what to call this. This new breed of cultural terrorists seeks only destruction. Destruction of our police, our power grid, our quality of life, our faith in God. For cultural terrorists, destruction of our country is the goal. Defeating them will be a war for hearts and minds. One by one, we have to win the hearts and minds of those who have been brainwashed. We have to cleanse our institutions of those who work to undermine the freedom and prosperity of American citizens. We're a generation searching for authenticity and starving for conviction. We might be afraid to say it, but we are yearning for true believers. Our generation is ready for leaders that speak the truth plainly. In our generation's fight, each of us will have to answer a simple question. Are you in or are you out? If you're in, if you're willing to join the fight, you're promised a hard road. Whether it's setbacks professionally, loss of friends socially, exclusion from organizations, it will cost you. But there is opportunity. The opportunity before our generation is to transform America into a moral nation that places its faith in God and embraces his commands. I don't believe that our generation will be responsible for saving America. I believe that God is sovereign. We'll pray for his guidance. We'll pray that our nation will turn to him, and then we'll get to work. We'll pray for his blessing on our work, and then we'll keep working. Now, that's the big picture context that my generation has entered the political arena from. That informs our worldview, our outlook, our priorities. What I want to do now is kind of talk about all of us in this room. And the message that I would deliver to my peers, to those that are younger than me, is exactly the same message that I would deliver to this audience. I believe that we live in a time where our politics are small, our politics are corrupt, our politics are cynical, our politics are immoral. And I believe that our politics are like that by design. I believe that in this country there is a class of elected official, there is a class of media, there is a class of consultants, there is an insider class that by design has made our politics so toxic that no rational person would want to get involved. And while we're sitting on the sidelines, this insider class is going to keep running things the way they've always been running things. I'm here to say tonight, no more. I'm here to say tonight, our time has come. The time for waiting for others to save us, to help us, that time is over. I don't believe that change happens because of what the President of the United States says or does. I don't believe that change happens because of what the governor says or does. I don't even believe that change happens because of what happens on election day. I believe that change happens in a million different little ways every single day. Every person in this room has a sphere of influence. You have a friend group, you have a family, you have a professional network, and within that sphere of influence, these people look to you. They respect you, they trust you, they value your opinion. And while it might seem like a small thing, when you're having a cup of coffee with that friend, with that coworker, and they ask you, hey, what do you think about this issue of the day?
in that moment lies the potential for winning back our country. It's time to throw this insider class out of power. They are terrified of you, the people. And let me tell you what, they should be. Where there is a group of true believers united by genuine conviction, there is nothing that can stop you. Great things start in small rooms like this. Like so many young people, I've been politically active in college. Like Mr. Myers said, I knew his daughter Michelle through SMU College Republicans, but starting out my career, I moved to a little town outside of Abilene, Sweetwater, Texas. Y'all might know it from Rattlesnake Roundup. And I was starting to get my career off the ground, right? Even by the time I'd moved back to Dallas, I'd started my business when I was 24. That's what I was focused on. I thought politics were important, but I didn't think that I had the time. This is very, very common for young people. But eventually, the business allowed me some more time, and I went to my first Dallas County Young Republicans meeting. And I was shocked at what I found. There was a whopping 12 people in the room. And I couldn't believe that. In Dallas, Texas, young Republicans, 12 people. But I kept showing up. I kept coming back. And after a while, I asked a group of friends if they would be willing to run for board seats with me. This was 2019. We started with about 12 people. I'm proud to tell y'all, at our most well-attended event we ever had, it was our Election Day watch party in November 2022, we had close to 500 people show up. In fact, the police, I see Elizabeth is here, we had some people that were there. The police wouldn't let more people in because we were violating fire code pretty severely. And I'm here to tell you that growth has absolutely nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with our board leadership. There is hunger in this country for platforms for true believers with genuine conviction to come together to save their country, and more specifically, to save their community. We love America, but what we really love is our homes. And there are people of all ages that realize their homes are under attack. Great things start in small rooms, just like this one. One of the best parts of working with the young Republicans has been learning from them. And we have so much member turnover, people moving to town, moving away from town. It's been an incredible experience to learn from them. And one of the most interesting things that I have learned from our membership is how to assess candidates for elected office. Now, we can't understand the intricacies of every single public policy issue. In fact, it's impossible to do that. We can't understand the positions of a candidate for elected office on every single public policy issue. In fact, it's impossible to do that. What I've learned from our members, however, is that we just need to answer two questions when it comes to candidates from elected office. Who are you for, and what are you for? These guys that are running for office, they will tell you who they are for. Sadly, there are a lot of people in this state that call themselves Republicans that are for the enrichment and enlargement of large institutions and the individuals running them. Big pharma, the defense industry, Wall Street, that's who they're for. I'm here to tell you, we're looking for a new breed of elected official that are for working people, young people, and entrepreneurs.
Yes.
You've heard me mention working people, young people, and entrepreneurs together more than a few times tonight.
Yes.
There's a reason for that. In my mind, these three groups represent a new coalition in American political life.
Yes.
I don't believe that this country is divided by class. I don't believe that this country is divided by race. I believe that this country is divided by connection to institutional power. The individuals that have captured academia, the media, Wall Street, the defense industry, those individuals connected to institutional power, they're on one side of the fence. And on the other side of the fence is everybody else. And what's so powerful about this divide is the way that it unites so many people of so many different backgrounds. Now, you're saying, Chad, weren't you just talking about division in our country? I was, but think about it. So few are on that side of the fence, so many of us are on this side of the fence. People of every income level, every race, urban and rural, young and old. The coalition that I describe as working people, young people, and entrepreneurs are the forgotten people of this country. They do not have advocates for their interests. They ask for little and they receive even less. Generally, they're just asking our government to do them no harm. The power in this country, however, refuses to leave them alone. And this dynamic sets us up for very interesting times in the state of Texas. In so many ways, for so many years, Texas has led the rest of the country. In so many ways, Texas was the center of American history in the 20th century. But as we survey the political landscape in Texas, we are lagging behind in one crucial way. The America First movement has not yet arrived in Texas. When you think about the coalitions in Texas politics, we still have a lot of the old-time George W. Bush Republicans. They still kind of run things. There's a remnant of the old Tea Party, but at scale, America First has not yet arrived in Texas. And I would tell y'all that the energy with young people is in the America First movement. I see it with the membership of our YR clubs across the state. The energy and enthusiasm with young people is behind America First candidates with an America First policy agenda. I believe that Texas politics will change as my generation enters the political arena. We'll bring with us a new agenda. I believe you're seeing that already with a congressional candidate like Brandon Gill. Some of us in the crowd were actually talking about Brandon earlier. I think some of you might know him, some of you might not. Brandon's actually a couple years younger than I am. Grew up outside of Abilene, went to the Ivy League. We won't hold that against him. Worked on Wall Street, and he's actually Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law. And so he is running for the Michael Burgess seat here in the Metroplex. And Brandon is unabashedly, unapologetically America First. In fact, he has been endorsed by President Trump, among other America First figures. And I mentioned Brandon because I think he exemplifies the tip of the spear in the movement I'm describing to you for people under 35 embracing, adopting, and advocating an America First policy agenda. Now, our generation still embraces the Republican tradition of Reagan, but we recognize that we live in a new era with new challenges that call for new ideas. We also forget that Reagan's ideas were insurgent ideas that were largely opposed by the ruling class of that time. But Reagan recognized that America was undergoing changes that required new policy ideas. In the same way that Reagan changed the American political landscape and energized a new generation of young Americans to get involved, I believe that Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Josh Hawley, and others like them are energizing a new generation with their policy agenda. In Texas, our generation is anxiously awaiting new leadership prepared to address these new challenges. What are these challenges I'm talking about that are specific to Gen Z and to millennials? Rising cost of living, lack of home affordability, crushing debt. These are the challenges that millennials and Gen Z are waiting on leaders to speak to and to address. Now, the transfer of power from one generation to another is never smooth. Rarely is the older generation ready to relinquish power, and rarely is the younger generation ready to assume the responsibility of leadership. This generational transition in Texas will be messy, but it's important that we have this transition. It's important that people under 40, people under 35, assume a position of leadership for the direction of their state and their country. I think it's important that we not lose sight of our natural allies in this generational transition. I think it's important that we remember our age is not what divides us. We have to remember that Texans of all ages, united in our shared faith in Jesus Christ and our common conviction that Texas has a special part to play in the future of this country, must work together to restore our government to the people. We have to show that our politics can be better. We have to show that our government can be better. And every single person in this room tonight has a part to play in doing that. So, y'all asked me here tonight to talk about the new generations that are entering the political arena. I'm here to tell you that there is every reason for hope. There is every reason for optimism. While our institutions may have failed us, while our leadership class may have failed us, these new younger generations will rise to meet the challenge. All of us, young and old alike, must simply remember where we come from. We are descendants of frontiersmen, explorers, rebels, faithful Christians, renegades, innovators, and freedom fighters. We are inheritors of a legacy of self-reliance, persistence, resilience, and self-sacrifice. Today, we live in a society that was once only dreamed of by the courageous men and women tending to their homes and families. Our nation's greatness is not our own. It is God's. I know that if we turn to Him, if we embrace His commands, and we remember ourselves, the future will be ours. In these dark days, in these times of doubt and fear, it's my hope that we will remember who we serve and remember who we are. If we can do those things, I believe our brightest days lay ahead. I want to thank y'all for inviting me out tonight, and I'd love to take some questions if you'd like. Yes?
So my only question is about your name, not yours particularly, but your club's.
Yes,
It's very similar to another Young Republicans club.
it is.
Too similar.
That is an opinion.
Maybe, but here's the thing. Branding is important, so you may want to consider making your name a little bit different than the YRs that have been around for almost 100 years, almost as long as the Texas Federation of, the National Federation of Republican Women.
Can I jump in very quickly?
Yes.
So I'm not going to get into this young Republican faction or that young Republican faction or who did what. And the reason I'm not going to is because absolutely nobody cares. And what we do as grassroots political organizations that is at best stupid and at worst incredibly destructive is we focus on controlling and amassing power with a very, very small group of people rather than letting go and embracing membership growth. One of the biggest turnoffs to people getting involved in grassroots political politics is this petty infighting, the name calling, that has nothing to do with winning races. It has nothing to do with winning our country. I'm glad you brought that up because I've actually been sued personally by this group. So if I was going to apply for a mortgage right now, I would not be able to get that. I don't think that to be involved in grassroots politics, you should have to be subjected to that. That's just my opinion. And that's when I talk about our politics being small, our politics being cynical, our politics being nasty. There are those that practice that brand of politics. I do not believe in that. And I believe that you model behavior. That people look at what you're doing. That's why I'm not going to talk ill. I'm not going to engage in those things. Those times are done. Those are frivolous things that are part of a country that's doing this. We're in a crisis point in our country. So I'm not interested in fighting other Republicans on things that don't have merit. I'm interested in talking with other Republicans on things that do have merit. I think we have real policy disagreements within this party. I think we have one faction of this party that believes in eradicating another faction. I think there's one faction in this party that doesn't believe in the other parties, the other faction's right to exist. That's a fight I'm willing to have. And I'm here in Collin County, so let's get into some trouble tonight. I think, we were talking earlier about who are you for? What are you for? I'll speak for me personally, and I think I'll probably say speaking for at least a healthy amount of our membership in Dallas YR. I don't need to know a whole lot about a legislator beyond whether they voted to impeach Ken Paxton or not. If you voted to impeach Ken Paxton, I know who you are, I know what you're about, and I know who you work for. The American voters are not stupid. Texas voters are not stupid. And sometimes when there's a conflict, there's only one thing to do, and that's to go win. So it's my hope that America First, true conservatives, we'll work with whoever. We'll vote for whoever nominees are. That's not what I'm talking about. But let's go win, and let's go win primaries. And Collin County is ground zero for some very exciting primaries. So I'll be watching eagerly.
Chad, when you started when you joined the club at first and you had a smaller membership, what do you think were the 2 or 3 things that you observed over the years that were most useful in outreach, exposure, to kind of drive that growth for your experience?
So these are not going to be exciting, earth-shattering ideas. This is not going to be calculus. In fact, it's going to sound so basic that you're not going to believe that this stuff works. But Mr. Myers and I were talking about SMU College Republicans. It's the same formula everywhere, right? Can we get a nice, cool, exciting venue that people will want to go to that's within a 10 to 15 minute drive of where they live? People don't like to drive more than 15 minutes. I know that sounds silly, but it's very real. And then what is the quality of our membership? Do we have people that are real young professionals that are just civic-minded, that care about their community, that are there to work together towards a common goal? If we can find those people and give them a platform, it will grow. Because your best recruiters are your membership. But if I'm Joe Blow member, I have to feel good about asking my friends to come to this. I'm risking social capital to invite my friend to a meeting. What if everyone's weird? What if the speaker sucks? What do I do? So I would say it's how do we get the right membership? How do we get programming that speaks to them? What speaks to one audience may not speak to another. You know, what we learned over time with Dallas YR is we're better off not having Mark Cuban, for instance. That's a big name, but not only does he not align with our membership's worldview, he's actively hostile to it. He's antagonistic to it. It's finding, and this is what I was trying to touch on earlier, the issues that resonate with your audience. What matters to you? And my hope tonight is that we can really have a generational dialogue. You know, kind of one of the issues where we struggle, millennials versus boomers, if you will, is this issue of housing, right? It's almost kind of become a joke with people our age, right? This is very big on Twitter. The boomer that bought their house in 1980, and you know, they say, well, my mortgage rate was 11%, and then we say, but you paid $25,000 for it, and we're whiny and y'all are out of touch, right? But these are the issues that are dividing us, and that's why it's important that we do these joint events so that we can have that dialogue. And what we then tend to find is the speakers, for instance, that resonate with our membership at Dallas YR, it's not identity-based, right? It doesn't matter if it's 75-year-old white guy, 30-year-old black guy, it's the ideas. It's the ideas. And I've seen 75-year-old white guys light it up, right? Like, it can still work, but are you speaking with conviction, with authenticity? Are you speaking to things that matter? We had Congressman Self
I was going to say.
come to Dallas. I think we had 150 people for him, and he was bold. He was unafraid to stake out positions and to speak his mind. That will always resonate with people of all ages. I think we have a problem in this country of making the assumption that the American people, that the electorate is stupid. I don't think that the American electorate is stupid at all. I think they will meet you at the level that you engage them at. We have politicians that talk down to them like this. I think if they would talk up like that, we'd be a lot more impressed with your average voter. So, long-winded answer, I think it's venue, I think it's curating the right kind of membership, and I think it's remembering every month you're auditioning for the first time. You don't get to have off months, right? People have a lot of options to go to other events. Bring your best speakers, bring your best ideas. That would be my advice.
Hey, Chad, speaking of a peer, someone who still pays my dues to DCYR.
Thank you, sir.
I want to comment on your topic of what do we want, how do we want it, and one of the things you said at one of the meetings was about how we're starting to think, the polarization between, we're no longer calling ourselves Republicans in a lot of ways, we're calling ourselves conservatives, and we're not calling ourselves, you know, the other side Democrats, we're calling them liberals. And how we think about that polarization of, you know, generationally it was Republican, Democrat, now it's really conservative, liberal, and how that's affecting the landscape going forward.
Yes. No, that's exactly right. Well, it's tough when you're a dissident and a certain type of conservative, you are a dissident, you don't have infrastructure, right? There's a lot of party apparatus controlled by a certain segment because they've been around forever, right? If we think about the dissident movement, if we think about America First, Donald Trump invents this out of thin air in 2015 or 2016. So we don't have infrastructure, we largely don't know how to raise money, we struggle to define it. That's been a Republican problem as long as I've been around, at least, is what are we for? We can tell you what we're against, but we sure as heck can't tell you what we're for. I think what's exciting about America First is it really does attempt to define policy solutions that we're in favor of that aren't necessarily in that traditional right or left category, right? And not everything's a right or left issue. There are good ideas and there are bad ideas. And my friends that still like to talk about Ronald Reagan a lot, I'm happy to talk about that, right? A lot's happened in the world in the last 40 years. The world is always changing. Two things can be true at once. Ronald Reagan absolutely introduced a set of policy ideas that were needed for the America of that time. The second thing that is also true is the problem set facing America in 2024 is not the same as it was in 1984. So why in the world would the exact same policy prescriptions be suitable? And the last thing I want to do is sound whiny or complaining, but as we talk about this generational divide and then kind of non-traditional political alignment, it's these issues that don't have a simple answer. So something you're going to hear a lot from people our age is you now have global investment firms like Blackstone snapping up single-family housing to own and then to rent out, largely affordable housing. As they do that, that removes the supply of affordable housing for folks my age to go purchase. That's not a right or left issue, right? And it sort of renders the old idea of free market versus interventionist moot. So I bring up that issue just as an illustration of things for all of us of all ages and all stages of life to think through and to realize that those traditional alignments do not mean a whole lot anymore. We have a new paradigm.
Chad, firstly, thank you for your very inspiring speech.
Thank you.
My question is, what is your current membership? And this is the most important election in the history of our country, globally actually. So what's your membership goal by November election?
Excellent. So we are close to about 1,000 dues-paying members. What's been wonderful about that is we are 100% funded by our membership dues. We've never taken an outside donation. We're not going to do that because we don't want to be co-opted by other agendas. We don't want to be used by other people. Our members own this club. It's theirs. So I'm very proud of that membership number. But rather than dwell too much on the positive, I want to be accountable for the negative. Something our club has been criticized for, and frankly the criticism should lie with me, and I think a lot of it's been correct, is we have failed to convert a lot of that member number to activism. That's where we've been weak, and that failure starts and ends with me, frankly. So something we're doing to address that is we're working hand in glove with the county party in Dallas now. Some of y'all know Susan Fountain, the executive director. She is at every single one of our meetings now, registering voters, getting people to sign up for block walks. Jennifer Hoydu, our party chair, is coming to nearly every single meeting. We're going to make it a priority to get out there. Now, we have to live in the realm of what's possible. As much as I want to send 150 young people to Rowlett at 8 in the morning on a Saturday, I don't know if we'll be doing that anytime soon. I know that might upset y'all. But I think that we will keep growing on our own. I don't know what that member figure will be by the end of the year. At this point, the word of mouth is so powerful. I think that it continues to build on itself. We had board elections a couple weeks ago. We have 3 or 4 new board members. It's important to keep new blood coming in so that everybody's invested in the outcome of this club. I'm going to judge us less this year by membership growth. I think we've kind of figured that out a little bit. I'm going to judge us a lot more by concrete activism. And like I said, that's not our members' fault. That's my fault.
Chad, if you would, just for a moment, speak a little bit about your generation and what their viewpoint of Israel versus Palestinian question.
So you talk about traditional paradigms being scrambled. Mr. Myers, I'll tell you, this is probably like the biggest hot button issue of them all, right? Candidly, there are certain segments of the America First movement. Some of that is anti-Israel, frankly. Some of that might have a prejudicial component. I think some of it, though, rightfully, is a big part of the America First worldview, the paradigm, is to rethink what conflicts do we engage in? What is in the interest of the American people? And before we rush to immediately escalate a conflict, how does this directly impact the American people? So there's a segment of America First that probably some ugly, probably some more thought out, feels that way. Obviously, the left is in shambles over this issue, right? You almost, the wild progressives cannot be pro-Palestinian enough to the point of effectively advocating terrorism, right? I believe, was it Congresswoman Tlaib this week that abstained or voted present on a vote to condemn rape of people that have been kidnapped. It's incredible.
She was the only one that would have heard.
No, it's unbelievable, and a lot of people want to kind of talk about identity politics on this, right? You know, I'm a Baptist, but I'm also half Jewish, right, ethnically. So a lot of evangelical Christians, as you go to church, you're seeing a divide, right? Like our inclination is to say we need to support Israel, we need to be there, but what does that support look like, right? And to what end? I don't think it's radical. I don't think it's anti-Semitic to ask a very basic question. What is our objective in this engagement? So something that we were talking about earlier is, as a generation that lived through Iraq and Afghanistan, you know, military intervention that was largely undefined in terms of objective, unmeasurable in terms of success, these quagmires that existed for 20 years and then sort of ended in disaster. How do we avoid that going forward? I think Ukraine has been instructive prior to this Israel conflict in that you had a segment of the Republican Party that just immediately rushed in and said, we need to go win, without asking, what does winning mean? What does winning look like? And it's not to say I'm not for that, but let's define that before we get in there. And I think, as we think generationally, who are the voices that we listen to? Traditional media, non-traditional media. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Tucker Carlson is the thought leader for Gen Z and for millennials. In a lot of ways, Tucker has been as central to President Trump in shifting some of these paradigms. And I know it drives some people nuts that Tucker interviewed Putin. I don't exactly know why that drives them nuts. You're entitled to disagree with him, and I don't think anybody here is supporting Vladimir Putin, but I think what we're supporting is free thought. I think we're supporting free inquiry. And the last time I checked, that's what this country's based on.
I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So at this point, we'll come to the parade of our political class. So everybody will please hold it down to about a minute or so. If you could begin a line over here, we'll just come up here. You're welcome to come up and address the crowd and tell us what you feel. Tell us what you're for.
Last one in, first one to go.
Go ahead, Edward.
I just want to say one shout out, give a shout out to Chad Cohen. Dallas Warriors have turned around their whole field under his leadership, and thank you for what you do. I'm Abraham George. I'm running for Texas House 89, which is east of here, all the way from East Plano, East Allen to Hunt County lines, 380, that area. I am running against an incumbent who's been there for about 6 years. Candy Noble is her name. Some of you know her. I am running for two things. One, no Democrat chair, because that's one of our biggest problems. We get elected we elect Republicans and they go and put Democrats in charge. Number two, issue is we gotta close this border. Doesn't matter how we do it at this point, we have to do it because this has turned into an invasion that none of us even imagined 3 years ago. So I am looking for your support. AbrahamGeorge.com is where you see a lot more information. Most of you know me. Thank you for your support.
Howdy y'all, my name is Steve Kennard. I'm running for House District 70. I'm actually 38 years old, so I appreciate your speech, Chad. We'll have to chat afterwards because I'm trying to step up. And frankly, I'm a guy who just wanted the government to leave me alone. And through COVID, I realized that wasn't going to happen. And it got to a point where I'm raising 3 kids in Collin County and we have to make a change. And so that's why I'm running. I'm proud to be endorsed by Angela Paxson. I'm proud to be endorsed by Ted Cruz. But I'm most proud of the grassroots people that have rallied around me and encouraged me. It's really been humbling. The response that I've seen there, the block walking, and people are energized. I feel it as well, to be unapologetically America first and say we're taking our country back and we've had enough. Vote Steve Kennard. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Collin County Republican Party, for having me here. Thank you, Eric, John, Mike, Charles. Thank you for the warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gulrez Khan. My peers and friends with affection call me Gus. You can call me Gus. I'm a candidate, a Republican candidate for the United States House of Representatives, Texas District 32. District 32 is parts of Dallas, Denton, and Collin counties. I've been a Republican for many years. Currently, I serve as a precinct chairman. In 2020, I was elected as a national delegate to the Republican National Convention to vote for President Donald Trump. Professionally, I'm a small business entrepreneur. We have a home health and hospice care called American Star Home Health and Hospice Care. I have a master's degree in business administration. I was born and raised in India, and I'm blessed to be an American. Friends, the greatest blessing God can shower upon you or anyone is to have been born in the United States of America. I wish I was born here. I would have conquered the world. I would have a net worth of $1 billion at least, President of the United States. It's not because I'm great. America is great. And America is great due to its conservative, foundational values of freedom, liberty, opportunity, and free market enterprise structure, not due to communism or not due to socialism. And on top of that, the best part of America is you all, the native-born Americans. You all are the most tolerant and most accepting people on this planet. And let me tell you, people who kneel down to our national anthem, people who disrespect our flag, they need to get out of our country. And racism and discrimination begin when you step outside of America. And my story is possible nowhere else, not in China, or Russia, or Poland, or Germany. My story of me, an immigrant, a legal immigrant to the United States, standing on this platform, running for the United States Congress, is possible in only one magic land, in the United States of America. So I feel it's my patriotic, moral, and conscientious responsibility to step up and provide the right leadership for District 32, keep America first, work on closing our border, fix our $34 trillion debt, term limits for our legislators, less government, and provide and try to make America great again. So I would really appreciate your prayers, support, and vote. My website is www.gconforcongress.com. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
I'm Tracy Self, and my husband is Congressman Keith Self, and so I would like to let you know, in case you don't know, that Keith wasn't endorsed by President Trump, and so we're so honored for that. Would appreciate your vote if you're in CD3. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Steve Asher. I'm a candidate for Collin County Constable here in Precinct 4. I have over 40 years of law enforcement experience, 20 years of which have been a law enforcement executive. I'm a dedicated professional, proven leader with high ethical standards, conservative Christian values, and I deal with public trust and public values. That's what it's about. I'm currently endorsed by Collin County Judge Chris Hill, Collin County Sheriff Jim Skinner, retired Sheriff Terry Box, as well as our current Constable Joe Wright. I have several conservative clubs that also endorse me, and I can list them all, but we'd be here just a little bit longer than normal. So I just want to ask for your vote in the upcoming election, and check me out at steveasher.us. Thank you very much.
Hi folks, Jason Lassiter. I'm here for Kim Lassiter. She's at another event tonight and can't be here. She's running for judge of the 401st District Court. You know, I was trying to think of what I was going to say because we've done this before. Y'all have seen me now up here 4 or 5 times. And so I know that you know her resume, and you know that she's endorsed by a really long list of law enforcement and organizations. She picked up Grassroots America today. But I don't think that we've really talked to you about who she is personally. So I was just going to tell you about our family. You said something, Chad, that I completely agree with, and it's really how we run our family. You said that, I think you said, great things begin in small rooms. Kim and I, that's how we run our family. Before we win this country at the ballot box, we're going to secure it at the breakfast table. And that's where we do devotions with our kids. You know, we take our kids to vote with us. They're not allowed to push the buttons. They want to, but we explain to them why we're going and who we're voting for and what the issues are and why those issues matter. And it makes them a little weird at school, but they can tell you about the Constitution, and our kids can tell you about the Second Amendment, really the Second Amendment, and that it's not about bad guys and Bambi, right? They can tell you far more about tax policy than a sixth grader should really know. We raise our kids because we really, in our family, Kim and I, we really truly believe that the values that have made the United States the beacon that it is in the world, and I fully agree. You know, Ronald Reagan said that we're the city on the hill. We are. But that starts at home, and it starts by teaching your kids. And that's what Kim and I do. That's what she does. She's a leader in the community. She's a leader in the legal community, and she's a leader at home. You know, she runs as a Christian conservative mother, and she is. The first time I got up here and I talked to you guys, I said that, you know, if you trust her with your vote, you will be proud that you did, and I mean that. And so I know voting starts on Tuesday, so I'll close with that. You know, if you trust Kim Laster with your vote for the 401st, you will be proud that you did. Thank you.
Hello, folks. My name is Howard Powers. I'm running for county chairman. What I bring to the table is two things. First off, I've been around a long time. In 2010, Tracy's husband, Keith, was running for his second term as county judge, and I was standing there holding a sign in front of Haggard Library. He actually left the courthouse and drove down to Plano because his opponent was a guy named John Munns, who's the current mayor of Plano, and they couldn't figure out who this idiot was campaigning for Keith South. So I've been around a long time. Experience matters, folks. And my experience deals with the Collin County Grand Old Party, the Collin County GOP. All my experience is from here. 14 years as an activist. I've done everything that we as a party do, and I've done it over and over and over again. From ballot board to poll reading to conventions, a whole range of things. The second thing that I bring to the table is that I've got time to do the job. I don't have small children at home. I don't have a day job. I don't have other elective office. So instead of being my fourth priority, the Collin County chairmanship is my #1 priority. Again, my name is Howard Powers. I'm the third person on the list. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Gregg, and I'm ready to be your next Collin County tax collector. You know, I've been up here many times. You guys have seen me. I'm probably running the longest campaign in history for office. But I'm doing it because I feel it's important. I have over 35 years of finance and accounting experience. I'm a certified fraud examiner. In fact, I'm the only candidate in this race that has finance and accounting experience at a multi-billion-dollar level. I encourage you to do your research. Seek out some of these forums. There's a great forum down on Zoom. I think if you watch that forum, you will clearly see why I am the best choice for this job. If you have any questions, be happy to answer those questions. I published my cell phone number almost immediately when I started running. People thought I was crazy. That has led to some late night conversations, but it has also made me accessible to the taxpayers in a way that very few elected officials have been. After you watch these forums and you do your research, I think you'll understand why I've been endorsed by Angela Paxton, why I've been endorsed by former Chairman Fred Moses, and many precinct chairs across this county and conservative leaders. I've made almost every voting guide I've seen has me listed as the choice. I have been endorsed by every conservative group in Collin County. That speaks volumes. So just remember, for the experience that we truly need in this office and the leadership that we so desperately deserve. Scott Grigg for Tax Collector in 2024.
I'm Mark Myers. I am appearing tonight on behalf of Wayne Richard, who is running for Texas State Rep in House District 66. Wayne's running because his opponent, Matt Shaheen, favors Democrat chairs in Texas House committees. He favors Dade Phelan, the Speaker of the Texas House, who is ruining Texas legislative initiatives in the House. And he's running against Matt Shaheen because Matt voted for the Ken Paxton impeachment with zero legal evidence to support it. So remember Wayne Richard for State Rep, House District 66.
My name's Ken Mon. I've been your tax assessor collector for 40 years. I think I do a damn good job. I had both of the candidates for tax assessor as employees in my office. I've known Ken McCall for a number of years, like him, respect him. I believe he's got integrity. Why do I say integrity? Because to me, it's a critical for a tax assessor collector. You can go out and blow smoke and talk about everything you do, but if you don't stick to the law with integrity, you're not worth a damn. I'm here supporting one of the candidates because the other one I had to remove from power in my office. I tried to fire him, but I spoke to HR in between, and they wanted him to maintain a county employment, and I was trying to make peace with them at the time, and I screwed up and didn't fire him. His office made a mistake. It was only $100,000 or so, but he buried it. I waited 2 years, or I waited 2 weeks, I'm sorry, I waited 2 weeks to find out if he was going to tell me about it. He'd tell me about everything about motor vehicle and property tax, but when his own office did it, he couldn't tell me, he buried it. When I spoke to him after those 2 weeks, I asked him to clean it out. We can't have questionable integrity in the tax assessor collector office. We're handling a little less money now that we have more exemptions, but we're still handling billions of money for all your cities and schools in Collin County. And we make it a point to get it to them, and we make it a point that if we make a mistake, we tell them, and we don't apologize for telling them that we made a mistake. Because only by looking at your mistakes, reviewing them and correcting them, are you worth a damn. You want integrity? Vote for Ken McCall. Thank you.
I'm standing up tonight for Ellen Lovelace, who is running for county chair. Ellen understands that there's only 2 or 3 things that a county chair needs to be able to do, and at least maybe the first 2 are sometimes in conflict with each other. But Ellen understands that there's a delicate balance between working with donors and working with volunteers, the 2 most important parts of our county party. And the third part is the voters. I'm confident in Ellen's ability to work with all 3 groups and to keep everything in balance and unified, especially after the primaries when we all have to come together and get all of our slate elected in November. Ellen Lovelace is the candidate to make all 3 of these things happen. And I'm going to be voting for her, and I hope that you will join me. Thanks.
Thank you all very much. Come to the last part of our our meeting, and that is our door prize. When I sat in the position that Charles had, I could tell people that it could be worth millions, but heavy on the could be.
If you don't have a ticket, raise your hand, I'll bring one by, so we can make sure everyone gets a chance at the potential of...
Back tonight, it's somewhat below $1 million. The Republican Party believes that the money in your pocket should stay in there. We're thrifty, so it'll be a good door prize for you.
Anyone else?
Chad, you may want to adopt this for your meetings.
I like this. This is good.
The lower budget apology. Okay, we need a nice lady to come up there.
What about Tracy? Congressman Self.
Nobody mentioned one word about that. And only, the only reason I know is because remember I said I would do it right first time walk over here.
Oh, go ahead. What do we got?
You don't
890-5355.
Five off.
Hey!
Close to $1 million.
It's somewhat below $1 million, but it's certainly enjoyable. It's a dinner out for you, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
wish I
Charles.
was running for office, I'd tell y'all to vote for me.
That's it for our evening. Our next meeting is March 21st, if I'm reading the calendar right. We hope you'll watch your email. There'll be an announcement of who our great speaker will be. And thank you very much.